Today, what I want to talk about is something that I think we all struggle with. Something I think our culture is constantly feeding to us, and something that I think is completely robbing us of our joy. And I know that might sound like some big ambitious thing we're about to talk about, but it all comes down to one simple word. That word is entitlement. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, one of my absolute favorite days of the year was Halloween. And I remember this one year, I was out trick-or-treating. I was pretty little with my brothers and my cousins, and one of our aunts actually came with us. She probably got voted by all the adults to come and babysit us or whatever. But we were pretty smart when we were trick-or-treating. We went to all the best houses. We would go to the best neighborhoods, the best houses that would give us the best candy, the most legit stuff, like the big chocolate bars, the big bags of chips, cans of pop or whatever. And it was awesome. And I remember this one year, we're going house to house, we're getting all the best stuff, and we're coming to the end of our night, right? My bag's getting full, it's pretty heavy, I'm feeling all weird about all my candy and stuff. And we go up to this one house, and we knock on the door. They open the door and they give us a snack. And it's the one snack that kids probably do not want to see on Halloween. The one snack absolutely nobody wants to see on Halloween. They hand us a box of raisins. You know, those little boxes of raisins with that lady's face on it. It's you see it as a kid and you do not want that. Now, hear me out. I'm an adult now, so my taste buds have matured and I've grown up a little bit. So raisins aren't all that bad. But when you're a little tiny ginger kid that's all crazy up on candy and it's Halloween and you're going door to door, spending your time doing all this work to get all this free candy, raisins just will not cut it. All right, so I did what any kid would have done in my situation. I got the raisins in my hand, I looked up, I stuck my hand back out and I put them back in the bowl and I said, hey, I don't want these. Do you got anything else? What? What kind of kid does that? What kind of kid gets a free snack, put in their hands, and they just put it back and ask for something else? Who does that? What do we call that kind of person? That, my friends, is what we call entitlement. Now, what is entitlement? Well, entitlement is the belief that one is inherently deserving of privilege or special treatment. Or in other words, entitlement is the belief that your privileges are actually your rights. Your privileges, the things that you did nothing to deserve or nothing to earn, you think those privileges are actually your rights. You are owed those things, you deserve those things, you've earned those things. And this is the whole idea behind that hashtag first world problems. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's somebody's making a tweet or you jump into the shower and there's no hot water left, hashtag first world problems. You open a bag of chips and then you realize that the bag is mostly air and there's barely any chips at the bottom, hashtag first world problems. You're up late gaming with the boys, you're having a good time, killing zombies or whatever you're doing, and the Wi-Fi cuts out and you're freaking out, it's the end of the world, hashtag first world problems. And that's entitlement. And entitlement is this funny thing. It's this attitude that says, I deserve something better. I deserve more. This isn't fair. I want something better than this. That's entitlement. And the funny thing is that culture is constantly feeding us this attitude of entitlement. While I was doing some research for this talk, I'm doing a bunch of Google searches, and there is an absurd amount of ads or commercials or promotions that are featuring entitlement. They have phrases or words that say, you've earned it. You deserve it, or you deserve better than this, or you deserve a vacation, or you deserve a new car, or whatever it is. You deserve the newest gaming console. You've earned this thing. This is entitlement. This is what it does to us. Culture is constantly feeding this into us. And the weird thing about all of this is that the sense of entitlement, I don't think we always realize this, but entitlement is actually robbing us of our joy. I'll tell you what I mean. When I was a little kid, I had a PlayStation 2. That was the gaming console of my house, and it was awesome. Me and my brothers, we had such good times playing on our PlayStation 2. It was awesome, right? We're playing Call of Duty, we're playing all sorts of racing games, and we were rocking out on Guitar Hero and Rock Band. We had the full setup. We had the drums, we had the bass guitar, the Guitar Hero guitar or whatever, and the microphone, and we were a rock and roll band, right? It's legit up in there, and it filled us with so much joy. We had a great time playing on our PlayStation 2. But then one day, everything changed. Everything changed the day the PlayStation 3 came out. That changed everything, right? You're walking through the mall and you see a lineup of people trying to get the PlayStation 3. You're watching TV and a commercial comes up and it's showing you how amazing the PlayStation 3 is. And then you get a bunch of friends. They get the PlayStation 3 for their birthday. They get the PlayStation 3 for Christmas, or maybe their parents are just spoiling them, so they get the PlayStation 3. And then you're there, left with your PlayStation 2, and you're thinking, why don't I have that thing? I deserve that thing. I'm not having as much fun on this. As soon as the PlayStation 3 came out, I wasn't having as much fun on my PlayStation 2. Why? Because I was constantly comparing myself to what the world was saying, what the commercials were saying, what my friends were saying, and everyone else around me. And it wasn't that fun anymore because I just couldn't stop thinking about the thing that I thought I deserved, the thing that I was expecting to be in my house. I just felt like I was missing out. and that it just wasn't fair. You see, entitlement completely robs us of our sense of joy. This is because entitlement stems from what we think we deserve, right? It stems from what we think we deserve. And when we do not get that thing, when we don't get what we think we deserve, we feel as though we've been wronged. We feel as though it's not fair. And when we don't get what we think we deserve, when our expectations are not met, it completely exposes the entitlement that was already inside of our heart. And do you see what the root problem is here? Do you see what the root cause of entitlement is? The root cause of entitlement is that you thought you deserved more than you actually got, right? The root cause of entitlement is that you thought you deserved more than you actually got. And do you see what the problem is? Do you see what the problem is under all of this? It's that our expectations are completely out of whack. We have allowed our expectations to be based on culture and the world around us and what other people have in comparison, instead of letting our expectations be based on God and what God has said and what God has done. So, what do we deserve? Maybe we should start there. So let me give you a brief history of what all human beings deserve. We'll start here. Romans 3:23. This is a key verse. It says this, "For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God." That's all. That's everyone. Me, you, your leaders, your friends, your family, your parents, everyone. All of us have done this thing. We have all sinned. We have all fallen short of the expectation. We have all missed the mark. We've all messed up and made mistakes, and we have fallen short of the glory of God. So all of us are in the same boat. And what do we deserve? A couple chapters later, still in Romans 6:23 says this, "For the wages of sin is death." The wages of sin is death. Wages in there, this is a word that's kind of like the thing you deserved. So the thing, you and I and everyone around us, the thing that we deserve is death. The thing that we deserve is separation from God. The thing that we deserve is nothing good at all. So when it comes to this whole idea of entitlement, what we think we deserve, we need to start here. We need to start from this place. We need to think long and hard. We need to remember what we actually deserve. We need to actually remember who we are and what we deserve. We deserve death. But you see the good news. There's good news in all of this. The good news is that God doesn't give us what we deserve, right? We are alive. We're walking around. We're breathing air. We have Wi-Fi and all this stuff. God does not give us what we deserve. He gives us something so much better each and every day. Did you wake up this morning? Did you go to bed last night in an actual bed? Did you have shelter over you? Are you breathing breath and air into your lungs? Did you eat today? Guys, we have Wi-Fi. We have Wi-Fi. We walk around with like little smartphones and computers in our pockets, and we have instant access to all sorts of information. That is ridiculous. It's insane. So if you find yourself feeling entitled and it is robbing you of your sense of joy, if things in life are not meeting your expectations, it is probably because you have forgotten who you actually are. It is probably because you have forgotten what you actually deserve. The first thing we need to do is we need to stop and remember. It starts here. Remember. You see, so often we forget who we are. We forget who God is. We forget what we've done. We forget what we've deserved. And that leads to entitlement. But when you stop and remember and show gratitude for what God has already done, for what He's already given you, for what He's provided for you, that will completely change our perspective. You see, entitlement ends where gratitude begins. That is the point. Entitlement ends where gratitude begins. So, what is gratitude? That is now the question. What is gratitude? Gratitude is the practice of acknowledging the goodness that occurs in your daily life. It is the option to stop and to remember and to choose goodness. And the Bible has so much to say about gratitude and thanksgiving. It's a theme. This idea of remembering and us forgetting is a theme all from Genesis all the way to the end of the Bible. And this idea of thankfulness and gratitude repeats over and over and over again. And here's one of my favorite verses on it. 1 Thessalonians 5 verses 16 to 18 says this, "Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." Now you might hear that and you might be thinking like, what? Give thanks in all circumstances. Like, who wrote this thing? Does he know what I'm going through? Does he know what my life is like? Who did? Well, here's the newsflash. This guy named Paul wrote this. And if you read the New Testament, you learn a lot about Paul. And Paul is not just some blind, optimistic guy, right? Paul went through a lot of crap in his life. Here's just a couple things. He was thrown in prison. He was bitten by a snake. He was shipwrecked 3 times. He was beaten with rods. He was stoned. He was chased out of cities. He was whipped with cords almost to death multiple times. Paul went through a lot of stuff, so he is not just some blind optimist, okay? And listen specifically to what he says. He says, give thanks in all circumstances, not for all circumstances, right? So he's not saying to thank God for all the bad things that are happening in your life, all the things that make you uncomfortable and like suck, or people being sick or getting hurt or whatever. He's not saying be thankful for all those things. But he's saying, even in the midst of the hardship, even in the midst of all the things we don't like in life, there is still countless things going on in the world around us that we can be thankful for. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I was out driving my car. I'm just minding my own business, like looking all cool or whatever, and I see it. The red and the blue lights, they're flashing behind me, and I get pulled over by a cop. He comes, knocks on my window, and eventually he ends up giving me a ticket. And I'm just like so frustrated. I'm so annoyed. I just made a dumb mistake. He's giving me a ticket. In that moment, was I thankful for the fact that I was getting a ticket and I was all frustrated? No, I wasn't thankful for that. Like that sucked. It cost me a lot of money. But even in the midst of that hardship, even in the midst of the annoying and the frustration, I had tons to be thankful for. One very obvious one, I am thankful that I have a car. I'm thankful that I'm allowed to travel around and visit people and pick up my friends and go for drives, go to Alberta and visit my family, or drive for work, go on adventures and explore. I have a car. That's just one thing. I have so many things to be thankful for. And you see Paul, he wrote this passage to be thankful in all circumstances. And for him, what we need to understand is that the only fitting response for life in this world is a response of gratitude. Essentially what he is saying is that the default setting for a Christian, no matter what you are going through, is a life that is marked by gratitude. This is the default setting. This is the default posture for a Christian. So the question is, when people look at your life, do they see a life that is marked by gratitude or a life that is marked by entitlement? Do they see someone who is thankful in all circumstances? Or do they see someone who complains when they don't get what they want? There's only two options, entitlement or gratitude, because entitlement ends where gratitude begins. Entitlement ends where gratitude begins. A few months ago, I was on a Zoom call with some pastors from Guatemala. It was super awesome. We're sharing our ideas and our thoughts about doing youth ministry online in the midst of the pandemic. And honestly, I was kind of complaining a bit to them that it's been hard to do youth on Zoom or online or on YouTube or whatever. And it's been hard to get students out. And we just can't wait to get back to normal, back to in-person ministry. I asked them, like, what are you guys going through? And they said, well, we're kind of going through the same thing, but there's actually an added layer of difficulty because none of our students have Wi-Fi at home. So in order to come to Zoom on youth, they have to go to work that day in order to buy minutes for their phone to hop onto Zoom. And I look at them and I say, man, that must suck. And they say, no, it doesn't suck. The students and us leaders are just grateful that we can be together. Man, I replay that conversation in my mind over and over and over again. Imagine if our response here in Canada would have been the same. That's a response that is marked by gratitude. That even when things look difficult, even when things aren't the way that we want them to, we can still find a reason to show thanks, to be grateful, to have joy. Imagine if our lives were marked by gratitude like that. And earlier I mentioned how entitlement robs us of joy. But the opposite is actually true of gratitude. When we become people who give thanks in all circumstances, when we begin to become people who give thanks routinely throughout our day for what happened in the past, what's happening in our lives, and what God has been doing, we become people who can better savor and enjoy the present moment. And I love how one old Christian monk says it. This is an amazing quote. It says, "It is not joy that makes us grateful, but rather it is gratitude that makes us joyful." And this feels completely backwards to our entitled minds, and I love that. In other words, it's the simple act of remembering and recalling and acknowledging the good things that we already have in life from God. And this will allow us to live in a greater sense of joy and to savor the moment. And this is what I mean. Last year, I was shopping for a car, and somewhere in the process, I decided that I wanted a Mazda, right? And then I just started seeing Mazdas everywhere. I started noticing them on my street, on my drives to work, and before, I never noticed them, but now I see them everywhere. And this isn't because all of a sudden there were more Mazdas, right? It's because my mind had been primed to think about them. And as a result, I was noticing them way more. There's Mazdas everywhere, okay? In the same way, when we intentionally practice thanksgiving and gratitude day after day after day on a regular basis, it's not as though more good things are coming in our life that will bring us more joy, but instead our minds are primed to notice the good things. And so we become more grateful. And even though nothing around us is actually changing, right? It's just a simple practice of stopping, remembering, being grateful that will lead us to more joy. And you see, if anyone in human history had the right to entitlement, it was Jesus. He was the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. He's the creator of all things. If anyone was ever royalty, if anyone ever deserved to be a VIP, if anyone actually deserved to get the things that they expected, it was Jesus. Yet, He never acted as though the world revolved around him. He never went seeking special treatment. He lived a life completely other-focused, a life full of gratitude, and in response, a life full of joy. And in the end, Jesus, this perfect servant king, he took on what he did not deserve on our behalf so that we didn't have to. Because of his life, because of his death, because of his resurrection on our behalf, we no longer have to get what we deserve. We get what we don't deserve. We get life, and life to the full. And that is why the only appropriate response to life in this world for a Christian is a response of gratitude. See, entitlement ends where gratitude begins. We deserve death, we deserve separation from God, but instead, we get life and life to the full. And that is all because of Jesus. You see, every single minute of every single day, every time you breathe, every breath in your lungs is an opportunity to give thanks and to choose joy. So one simple practice I want to leave you guys with, and I actually want to encourage you guys to do this, is simply to practice gratitude. And it could look like this. Grab a journal, grab a piece of paper, grab the notes app on your phone, and maybe in the morning before you go to school or at night before you go to bed, just simply do this. Write down 3 things that you are grateful for. Just 3 things that you have in life that you did nothing to earn, you did nothing to deserve. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's just breath in your lungs, maybe it's your bed or your house or video games, whatever it is. Just write down 3 things you were thankful for. Day after day, add it to your routine, and eventually you will see that these things you are grateful for are leading you to a greater sense of joy. You see, I think oftentimes many of us are waiting for God to just drop down this big emotional happiness bomb on our lives so that we can become more joyful. But maybe that's not really how it works. Maybe we can find joy in the small everyday things of life that we so often take for granted. So, what if life was more about remembering, taking time to be grateful for what God has already given us and what he has already done for us, and living a life that is completely marked by gratitude? Because this is the point. Entitlement ends where gratitude begins. Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you next week.